Welcome back to another episode of WedPro Business Solutions. The person sitting next to me probably looks very familiar. Over the past 3 weeks, we have been replaying when Brittany first sat down with me a few months ago when she was deep into wedding planning and provided such amazing insight to share with wedding professionals. And now she's back.
I'm back.
Newly married. And I'll still say Brittany Murphy because she hasn't actually changed her name yet, but so smart why you haven't. And your new name is going to be?
The American way to say it will be Nagy.
Nagy, that's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure. As of now, Brittany Murphy at the time of this recording, but soon to be Brittany Nagy. Thank you so much for coming back.
Yes, thank you for having me.
The date was June 3rd of 2023. And we're recording this the first part of August.
Oh my God, 2 months exactly.
I was going to say 2 months. Does it feel like it's been roughly 8 weeks?
No, to be honest with you. I actually haven't even changed my calendar from when I had all the stuff I had to do like leading up to the wedding. So I think I'm still in like the waiting. Luckily, the reason I haven't changed my name, our honeymoon's at September. So I'm waiting to make sure I come back to America with all my passports in check before I make it. But yeah, I think I've been living in the it feels like it was just 3 weeks ago type of situation. But sadly, it is August, which means it has been over 60 days. And yeah, it's extending itself, but I'm really excited for the honeymoon still. So it feels like I'm still in that fun whirlwind wedding planning stage.
And who knows how long that will last, because you planned for, if I remember correctly, it was a little over a year. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yep.
I felt like
we got engaged January 3rd.
Okay.
And then the following June of the next year was our wedding.
But I think you said to me you had gave yourself a couple months with the engagement before you started. Do I remember that right?
Yeah. So okay. I probably enjoyed it until about March. And then around the end of March, I started getting serious because everyone was freaking me out that all the good vendors will be taken. Stop just enjoying it and start planning it.
Yes. So I know we have a lot to cover. And I purposely haven't really talked to you just briefly about the actual wedding day because I wanted to hear it firsthand as we were recording. Let's start off where we left off. You were in the midst of picking vendors. You had made some decisions at the time. And we can go back and recap the amount of frustration that you had, especially being in marketing, with not only finding options online, learning about them, but then there was a lot with communication, with reaching out to people to set up meetings or get additional information or just to see, could this be a possibility? And I know there was a lot of frustration with that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying that probably very nicely.
Yes. I mean, hindsight, I have relieved myself of all that anger and oppression I came with or in those first few podcasts. But yeah, the main issues was it was hard to find people. I was noticing that no one really had a good either social media presence or a website or just anywhere for me to get information without having to go through the sales process with them. Communication during the sales process was crazy, that I was getting people not even messaging me back. They said they were open, and then when I would follow up, say, okay, what are your pricing? How can we figure out how to start this process with you? And they would just go also just the aspects of, even when you would sit down and talk with a few people, sometimes it wasn't fully clear what they were going to provide for you. And I was noticing in the sales process, and given I am in marketing, I am in sales, and I'm not perfect, but I did notice during the sales times with certain people, they were asking questions to complete their sales process, but not actually get to know me or my needs along the way to even figure out, am I a good fit for them as well?
It almost seemed one way or the other.
Yeah.
Not a whole come together.
Yeah, and given when we have our marketing meetings with clients, there's a good mix of questions on both sides. Obviously, we as marketers need to get understanding of exactly what you've done, where you're looking to go, and they should be asking us questions, how we're going to help them get there. And so, yeah, I felt when I was going through those conversations, it wasn't fully a two-way road, and that was a little frustrating because when I would ask my questions, I felt as if they weren't really listening. So I think an example I gave was I said, me and my fiance at that time, we hate line dance songs. I was in middle school when the cha-cha slide came out. If I hear the cha-cha slide one more time, like my brain will explode. I've heard it way too much. It's just, it doesn't get me on the dance floor. And so I think with the group of friends we have and family, it's not really going to get them on the dance floor either. And so I had some DJs when I had conversations say, okay, yep, we can definitely do that. And then I would ask later when I would ask my questions, hey, what do you do to get the dance floor going? What's the thing you do? Line dance songs. And they smiled and stopped, and that was it. And I was like, okay, well, we just talked about how I don't want to utilize those. Would there be a backup game plan? And they said, oh, yeah. Just the kind of blank stare on the eye was, I wasn't fully listening or present for you. And I was, this is a wrong impression. Like, you're going to be here for me on our biggest day. Make sure you have my back.
So here's what's going through my mind hearing you talk about this. I'm going to pay more attention when I meet with clients. I've done websites for I don't even know how many years, honestly. I would say back to the AOL community, but most people have no idea what I mean. That was before websites were actually websites. And it is something that we have done over and over and over again. And I wonder myself if because I've done it so many times, is there maybe things that I don't want to say I assume, but I'm so comfortable with the topic that maybe I don't clarify for someone that's starting a business or never had someone really work one-on-one with them. Maybe they've used something where they've just submitted stuff and really haven't met, strategized, and executed with a person or a company before. So what just went through my mind is that's something I've done over and over again. I probably need to be more aware just because I've been in that cycle so much. And I wonder if the same thing for wedding professionals, because if you're a DJ, photographer, officiant, you probably do it week in and week out and have multiple meetings. But that person sitting in front of you, there could be their first time. Most of the cases it probably is, unless they've met with others. Just makes me pause and think this could apply to anybody, but I could see where you're going with that. You're just in this hamster wheel, and for you, it's the same thing with just maybe a little bit different parts, but for the client or potential client, it's brand new.
Yeah, and just to...
Oh gosh, she's writing notes.
I know, I have really bad short-term memory.
Oh no, she's writing notes. That means she's got something to say about it.
Just to remind everybody again, so I do marketing more for like trade companies. So roofers, plumbers, electricians, those are my guys. I call them, if you got a butt crack, they're who I want to market for. So you say that, and yes, I'm literally here thinking, oh shit, I know I have done that. I know I have glossed over things or assumed that all of this is common knowledge because I've done so many of them. I get lost in it. I'm just talking to myself half the time, you feel it. So that's where the thing I wrote down is during my sales process, something I really want people to do, because I have people all over the country, is I don't just want a phone call with you. I want a video call when we do our first strategy session together. Because what I've noticed is if I can get them on video, it's almost as if I'm in person, seeing them eye to eye, and I can see the minute their face changes to deer in headlights.
Where you've lost them or they need more explanation, something.
Yeah, and that's where some of my vendors did do video calls with me, and that kind of helped make it more personal. But that's where relaying that back, I would want to make sure that all wedding vendors moving forward, if you're not going to meet in person, you don't have to. I didn't find that necessary. But to make it a video so you can at least see the people, see what their reactions look like, so you can see, are you getting them lost along the way?
It's more personable.
Yeah.
You can relate better. And I know that people will sometimes say that they're over Zoom or Google Meet or this because they were forced to do it for X number of time during that certain time we had going on. But all honesty, I think it's really helped people be better in person meetings now and or utilize video meetings because what you just said there. And I think we can all take a pause and review our own processes and how can we make them better. It's not to pick them apart. And one of the things that just popped in my mind is maybe you're someone that works a lot of times with friends. I tend to become close with a lot of our clients. I'm fortunate to have some that I've worked with for, 20 years. And I think maintaining structure during meetings, and you can go in so many different directions, that brought me back to that is something that I've tried to be better about, because I do work with quite a few people that are also friends, is making sure that I'm not glossing over or gonna skip this part because it's who they are. It's important to maintain all aspects of any type of project, contract, anything along the entire process. So I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I think the whole part of the sales is to make the client or potential client comfortable as possible. So if you're not answering their questions or getting to their level and making sure that they feel clear and confident with what might be happening, then you're never going to win the sale regardless of it. And I had some vendors that did above and beyond with that. And then I had some, as I said, the DJs that were just like, yeah, line dances. After I'd already talked 5 minutes of, please, that's not what I would prefer, anything else.
You didn't feel heard.
Yeah, I felt exactly as if you've done this so many times, you're just hoping it's a numbers game, and then I'm going to convert because you had something spectacular that was automatically going to convert me. Just because you're at a wedding show and I got your business card and I set up that meeting doesn't mean I'm actually booking you. Like, we're interviewing. I'm seeing how you're going to be doing, just like my clients are interviewing me. Like, they're talking to 2 or 3 marketers usually. When we know that they're switching business or switching companies, they're talking to 2 or 3 people. So you need to assume your brides or your grooms are also doing that as well with you. So if you're not making yourself shine in a way of, I really have your back, I'm gonna do everything to make this stressful day as unstressful for you as possible, then you don't deserve them, in my opinion.
You're right. And here's the big word that I've talked a lot about throughout several episodes is there's so much power in listening. You can learn so much, you can take away so much, but also for wedding professionals out there, you can actually hear what people are asking of you. That's social media content. That's FAQs for your website. Because if one person is asking, there's 5 others thinking the same thing, even if they're not reaching out.
Exactly.
The power of listening. So I'm going to continue to listen.
Awesome.
And so thank you so much for recapping that, because that really was an important thing that you had talked about before. So from your journey, did you deal with a lot of the same frustrations that you shared? Did those become easier after we talked? I ask?
Yes, it did become easier. As I said, I've lost my aggression I had during that planning process of it. Once I was able to line out my vendors and really honed in who it was, we've booked, we're under contract, life got a lot easier for me. A lot of them, as I said, I picked them because they did a good job making me feel comfortable. And then even after the point of setting up contract, I had good enough communication to not get fearful of, hey, is this vendor still going to show up? Is everything still lined up? I felt a lot more calm on that aspect of it. They were reaching out, so doing the good client process systems in a way. So it's funny that, yes, what we were kind of bitching about previously was awful processes before client. At least there's some processes in place after client. You can't get them to be a client if you don't have a good pre-client experience. So those things do work together. But I had to do quite a bit of organization on my side. There is obviously multiple payments for most people. They either break it up at 6 months out, 90 days out, and so forth. So tracking that all fell on me. I really didn't have any vendors that would send reminders or anything.
And you did not have a wedding planner, right?
So I did not have a wedding planner until about 30 days out or 45 days out. I was just told by so many people that it got in my head, and I caved in. I said, you know what? I do need someone. My husband was so nice. He was like, I'll run it. I'll prepare. Like, you just get hair and makeup done. Like, I'll get the decorations up. I'll make sure vendors get here on time. He's a project manager by trade. So he's like, this is my wheelhouse. I have it. And I had so much guilt because I said, no, this is your day as well.
Right.
I want you enjoying this. Your friends are coming in from around the country. You need to enjoy this time and be a groom just as much as I want to enjoy this with my friends and be a bride. So I did cave in. I found a day of coordinator that could kind of come in and just hone in that side of it, since I'd really done most of the back organization and planning so far of
really
paying vendors.
Execute
Yes.
your vision and make sure the vendors you had showed up and things like that. And I'm sure that provided some type of peace of mind at that point.
It did. And that's where I was very upset. People kept yelling at me to get one. And then after I got one, and as we'll learn how the day went, I'm so grateful I went ahead and did that.
It's your sidekick. It's a person
Yes.
that's got your back.
Yes.
And it's a filter.
Yeah. And,
It's a filter.
and most of my vendors said they would pick up pieces if I didn't have a coordinator. The photographer would help run the timeline to make sure things were there. So I knew people were willing to pick up, but I was just worried if I could not be totally present, or if my husband could not be totally present, someone could, and it wouldn't be either of our mothers.
It wasn't a dedicated person's job that day.
Mm-hmm.
So it ultimately would have fell on your all's shoulders.
Yeah.
But through the process with your vendors and things, you didn't have a full service planner that was going to appointments or helping you with your timeline of payments, meetings, and things like that.
Yes.
So it fell on you to do that. And that's interesting about the reminders. because there are some people that still don't embrace like a CRM or an all-in-one business system, where some of that people are scared of that term automation, when it can be like an assistant for you to take off that busy work. But for you, that was a missing piece that could have been helpful, those payment reminders or whatever was due.
Yeah, I had to create an Excel sheet, go through everyone's contracts, put in all the dates and what the amounts were due. So yes, I did probably the stuff that an actual wedding planner would have done for me. But when I talked to most of my friends, none of them had the full service coordinator. Just having a day of coordinator was where most of my friends fall. So within that, I know all of them had to deal with these timelines, and that's when it gets to the end, it does get crazy because just making sure, has everyone been paid? Have I given everybody their direction? Can I just relax and do this? So
You're down to the wire.
Yeah.
The last 30 days, there's only so much time.
There is, unfortunately, and that's where I feel that being a wedding vendor, if you can actually ask your clients this question, and hopefully probably most of you do you have a coordinator? Are you going to have a day of coordinator? Knowing that aspect, because the minute they say no, I know some of you are like, oh crap, now some of this falls on me potentially to run it. Like my photographer probably was like, oh, okay, I'll rise to the occasion, but that's not totally the role I want to fill. I want to be present and taking the photography, taking the videography, not watching my watch for you.
You want them to
24/7.
do what you hired them to do. That's a really interesting point.
Yeah, so if most of your brides and grooms are not working with a full wedding planner, then I can say, at least in my opinion, I would have only been gracious for someone to send me out an email invoice reminding me in 10 business days, in 2 weeks, your second invoice is due, just as a reminder, because it's not rude. I signed a contract with you. I know I'm supposed to be paying you, and also it's your business, so you should be making sure that money's collected on time.
Sure.
You should not be worried about hopefully collecting those late fees, and that's the major portion you're getting business off of.
One of the things that just popped in my mind, sorry not to interrupt, but did you get a checklist or here's what is needed from you as a client from any vendors? Because I would assume that some of them, and we know that word, but I would assume that some of them needed information from you, a questionnaire filled out, a pre-meeting 60 days before your event. Did you get a questionnaire or things like that from vendors?
So the day of coordinator did. She knew that she needed to organize all the vendors, get all the contact information, and she was very active. She was very new in the business, so she was just starting this as a side hustle, and I think she's going to knock out of the park and be full-time at this, the way she's going. She's doing everything we bitched about in those last 3 episodes correctly, and she's brand new at this, so she must be listening to the podcast. She did. She asked everything to help herself get organized. My DJ was very good at just making sure, hey, what songs we want for what, just following up to make sure you had this. He was even good at, there was a few songs we cut just to make them appropriate, but also fun. So like Best Friend by 50 Cent was our outro song. So as we kissed and walked out down the aisles, that song played, and it's not one you can have your family listen to fully. But the beginning chorus is, you're my best friend, and it just says it over and over again. So I had a few do very good at that. Really, I don't think so much that my food vendor or my photographer did as much on that side, but I don't think there was really as much as they needed to maybe collect on that side. But they did reach out, so I'm not saying they didn't, but I think certain positions that you really have to be more full force on it. So if my DOC had not been as active as she was, I probably would have stressed out 10 times more.
Sure.
Than thinking that was going to help de-stressify me.
So just from hearing what you're saying, if you're a vendor, depending on what type of vendor you are, if there are questions that you need answered of your client, and you need that 60 days out, 90 days out, 6 months out, whatever it is, you can actually use digital forms where you can send that to them. They can fill it out on their mobile phone or computer, however they want to do it, which is most convenient for them. But that way you have those answers that you need leading up to the event. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a phone call or have to be a video meeting. Again, depends on who you are and what category you're in with your business. But that way, maybe there are questions that those answers pose for you that gives you time to say, hey, Brittany, I'd like to go over this, time to schedule. So don't be hesitant to use digital forms, questionnaires, things like that, because I think engaged couples or your clients would appreciate giving you that information, because it would take some of the stress or possible lingering questions as someone that hasn't been through this.
Yeah, and to me, if my vendors had automated every communication they gave me after I signed up, I don't think I would be upset at all. The things I'm thinking of is, like they could have automated to ask for when guest count was, like the food vendor, when guest counts due, sending it a week prior saying, hey, we're going to need to get this by Friday. They could have automated all of that.
You would not have been offended.
I would not have been offended. It would have been, thank you for reminding me. And one thing I just wrote down that I think I would have loved, because it's free $99 to set up in your automation. But what if every month you have set before their date, you have a countdown for them? We're 3 months out to your wedding, can't wait. 2 months out, can't wait. 30 days out, can't wait. Like, obviously you can put first name. You can put all the Q codes in this for it to pre-populate all of my information. Congratulations, Brittany and Gabor, we're only 30 days away, can't wait. These are all little things that it's not a reminder that I have something due for you, but what it would relieve anxiety is I'm still booked. They've not overbooked me.
I'm still top of mind.
I'm still top of mind, everything. I did have a vendor tell me that there was an accidental overbooking. Luckily, it was not on my date, but the weekend behind us, they had overbooked with someone. I won't say what vendor or even what industry they were in, but they told me that story, and that's where it came to my head. Okay, well, automation wouldn't technically maybe 100% fix a double booking, but it could, A. And B, it would be very nice to know that, hey, if I'm getting these email reminders that I'm in your system, I am booked for this day, like it's somewhere, it's tracked. So on your calendar, you know, this is Brittany and Gabor's day. Like, you were here 100% to do this. And the reason I bring that up as well is, even for my trades guys, if you set up like a roofing or a plumbing inspection, let's just say, like I'd tell my guys, if you can actually have that like text confirmation, like after they book, it gets a text confirmation, like, hey, this person's showing up on this day at this time. It just relieves a lot of stress on me, because I know no matter who I talk to, no matter if they fat fingered it in the system, I'm in, I have a name of who's coming, and I have an exact time. Like, I'm all the confirmations to know the business is going to be running smoothly, and I can get back along and free my mind to more space to do other things versus making sure you're doing your role.
Okay, you brought up 14 things.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, it's so good to hear you say that, number one, automation doesn't offend you. And I think that sometimes all of us, including wedding professionals, have in the back of their mind, oh, well, if they get a confirmation 1 minute after they've sent this, like, they're going to know it's automated. Does that seem very personal? And I've actually, over the past few months, I've been working with quite a few people. And what you're talking about is touch points along the way. That's what I call them.
Yep.
Even though you may be the one making the cake and you don't really do anything with that couple, maybe you don't meet to finalize everything until 30 days before their event, but they booked you 12 months before their event. That doesn't mean you have to wait until 60 days to say, hey, now's a good time to go ahead and be scheduling your 30-day out appointment, because this is what I've shared with people. If you stay as a business owner or as a business, if you stay top of mind, you probably have a better chance with referrals. And let's be honest, in the wedding industry, a lot of times, I was gonna say most of the times, a lot of times, you know someone else that is just gotten engaged, is engaged. It seems to always happen.
Yep.
If that cake person would have emailed you 11 months out, even though you already booked, countdown's on, you're less than a year, and you had dinner the next weekend with someone who knows someone that, oh, you know what? I decided to go with this bakery because this, and the next thing, well, maybe they don't have some, you just never know where that can lead. And that's the conversations I've been having with people. It seems that a lot of times vendors are getting booked 8 months to 16 months out. And I know that sounds like a big window, but some of those people, if you're not a planner, I'll throw venue in there, having those touch points along the way just lets you know you're not a number, you are in their system. Even those automations, it makes you feel, oh, okay, I'm still there. Oh, it's good to hear from them. A lot of times people are like, yeah, but they're already booked. Do they really want to hear from me? I don't have anything else to provide to them. And sometimes I feel like they're missing the whole point of just they're hearing from you.
Yeah.
So to hear you say that you're not offended about automations, you're not offended by text, I think as things evolve, more things are headed in a text direction. That doesn't mean that email marketing is dead whatsoever, but text gives you a more instant access for appointment or meeting reminders, things that are more critical versus a countdown email, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. And adding those touch points up, I think what it would do for a bride or groom is just make them feel good.
A little more
And
comfortable.
A little more comfortable. So if you feel good and comfortable, you're more likely to refer the things that are making you feel good and comfortable because you want to share that happiness with someone else.
And even if you don't get a referral out of it, that's not why I'm saying doing it.
Yeah.
You're establishing a stronger relationship with that client. And after the day is over and the couple's married, then maybe they will refer you then. If
And
not,
you're more likely to get a review. You made us feel
Yes.
good the entire time.
a review, you've completed the project, and you've left everyone feeling warm and fuzzy.
Yep.
That makes me think of follow-ups, but I know we're not there yet. So I'm sure you probably have that on your list, because I think that's something that when the day of the event, to me, there's so many opportunities there to really seal that event, that contract, and leave on just outstanding terms. But anyway, so we talked about automation, follow-ups. We really were talking about communication along the process. Where does that take us? I know you were jotting a couple things down.
Really, that's the beginning until we get to the day of and then follow up after day of.
Okay, so let's talk about day of. Are there things that stood out in your mind from the business standpoint? At the day of, we're obviously past the marketing side of it, but we're still solidly in the relationship. I still say relationship marketing. We're still in that side of it. So talk to me about the day of.
Well, I guess I'll give the backstory of what happened during the day, just kind of help put everything into perspective. So I had an amazing wedding. Unfortunately, Brittany caught either a stomach bug or heat exhaustion or something because I threw up more times that day than I would like to count and or admit to. So I was very sick most of the day. Unfortunately, my husband did not know I was that sick until we had our first look. And afterwards, I told him that I was not feeling very well, and he held my hair the rest of the night, basically. He was awesome. So on that, what I joke about is the other person I spent the most time with on my day, other than my husband, was a trash can.
And I was shocked when you shared this, because your pictures, nothing gave any impression whatsoever. Even pictures, because we're friends on Facebook, even pictures that other people had posted, like I had no way of knowing. When you told me this, I was completely shocked.
Yeah, so I think my adrenals were so high, it's what kind of like just pulled me through the day. It felt like I had the flu on top of like sinus. I feel like I had 3 different sicknesses on
top of it being the biggest day of your life.
Yeah, just the stress of that I know fed into it.
But I'm glad you shared that, because, whew, goodness, this is what brings it to the surface about professional vendors, in my opinion.
Absolutely. So this is all to say I wasn't very present to help take care of the day as much as I thought I would have been.
Makes that DOC.
Made that DOC clutch. Very much so.
Check.
Yeah. So luckily in all of this crisis happening, yes, luckily I was able to pull together. By the time we did run late for the ceremony. I was sitting there ready for the first time in my life. I wasn't going to be late, but I unfortunately was late because I was not feeling too well. Was able to pull it together, have the ceremony, take pictures afterwards. After those pictures, while everybody was enjoying cocktail hour, unfortunately my adrenals wore back down again and I started to feel sick all over again. So had to get completely ripped out of my dress pretty quickly because I was just not doing well. During all of this, all of my vendors had to take care of themselves and take care of the wedding without being able to ask me almost anything, because I was almost completely unavailable.
The event went on
Without me, basically.
without you. Whether you were in the room or not, there was still an event happening.
Yes, which it had to be. We were having friends and family from all over the world, like people flying in from Hungary to come show their love and support for our wedding. So it had to go on. And the funny enough concept we had told every vendor, which again, communication from your brides and grooms is very important as well. It's why you have to ask them these questions and not just tout about yourself, is I had told almost every vendor how I want this day to go. And the goal is it doesn't feel like a wedding. This is a big party with a ceremony in the beginning of it. So that's why I didn't want to do the garter toss. I didn't want to do the flower toss. All my friends are married. Like, let's not waste time with that. We did toast at our rehearsal dinner. I didn't want to stop the idea of a party going on with all of our friends and family being there. And unfortunately, some of his relatives from Hungary do not speak English. So I was like, why would we waste 30 minutes on something they're not going to enjoy when they're our guests of honor? In my sense, they traveled a great deal to get here.
To share with you on your special day.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So luckily, knowing myself and over communicating on my end, it really helped where all the vendors picked up pieces. My day of coordinator in the very beginning, so I ran late even getting there. We were all supposed to be there. I came almost 2 hours late. I was not good. And even my husband was not calling me because I think he was just like, maybe she's just taking her time. Like, let's leave her alone. Like, it's her day. Let her, she just wants to take an hour extra in the shower. It's her day. She can do it type of mentality.
But in all honesty, you were so sick, you literally couldn't drive there.
Yes. So I was waiting to drive, and everyone had already left. I was the last one. So.
And this is stuff that you can't plan for. Talk about all of these things that you can plan for. But this wasn't, you weren't out binge drinking the night before, the week before.
Yes.
Like, this is something that can happen that you're not going to know ahead of time.
Yeah. The only thing I knew of ahead of time was I had one glass of wine at rehearsal dinner, and unfortunately that night was the first time I threw up. And so it snowballed from there, and even he was like, what happened? I was like, I don't know, hopefully I just got the bad spirits out of my body, whatever it was. So the joke we make is it was Murphy's Law hitting me one last time before I could become part of his family. What that means though is I was already running late, so my DOC took charge, I did a good job organizing decorations. I decided to take that on myself. I really wanted a look that I didn't want to pay the huge price tag for. And I'm a creative, hands-on crafts person.
It's
so I was able
something you
to do
wanted
that.
to embrace.
Yes, it was part of, I wanted to be a part of the wedding day. So when people said, oh my God, it's so pretty, I could say, thanks. Me and the help of this family and friends were able to make this happen. And everybody was amazed. Part of our wedding gift actually for everybody was they were able to take all of the flowers home. And I had centerpieces that were a living arrangement that they could take as well. So we didn't have too much of a cleanup at the end as much as the beginning. But the DOC was able to step up, take charge of that. I had meetings with hair and makeup, so they had already started. We had a schedule of events. So everything luckily was running very well without me, which was amazing because I only had, my mom texted me once. Moms always text you every hour on the hour what you're doing. Only text me once saying, are you on your way? And luckily I had finally left the house. I was, but I even had to make a pit stop on the way to the wedding venue. I was really just pulling myself out as the head coordinator. To say you were
sick is a complete understatement.
Yeah, I was probably having an exorcism moment is what it felt like. Everything out of my body wanted to come out. So
if this would not have been your wedding day, you probably wouldn't have been out of bed.
Yes, I would have.
Unfortunately.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I had to pull it together on that side of things, but that's where, yes, the communication and the good vetting of vendors on my behalf really what pulled it all together where I wasn't as stressed out. Luckily, it helped calm me down. But that wasn't going to solve the sickness aspect of it.
So something there is, I feel like that is something that is really not talked enough about. Because when you talk about experience, that's just not experience of taking amazing photos or amazing video. The experience means there's been situations happen during a ceremony, during a reception, leading up to it. It's called life.
Yeah.
However, handling it, knowing what to do, how to adjust. And we've jokingly said on the other podcast about frienders. If you want someone to be your friend after the wedding day, don't put them in charge and or hire them to do something. The other side of that is if it's something that they haven't been part of and been in situations, it's can be stressful. There are things executed at certain times. And if you have something happen, God forbid someone has a vendor breaks down, is involved in an accident. Most of them are traveling places. I've always said to people, it's not if something is going to happen at a wedding. It's what, why. You got multiple parties involved, multiple people. And then it's the professionalism, in my opinion, and the experience is what allows things to be adjusted, pivoted, and flow smoothly for your guests to still have a great experience and as few people know as possible. And that's one of the things when I knew how much you would put into finding the right vendors for you and your fiance at the time. This, until the day of and until after the event, it's hard to fully see how all that's going to come together. But in my opinion, this is an example of great vendors pulling together. And you have not disclosed to me, I don't know who the vendors are. It's great vendors pulling together for one mission.
Yes.
And that was your wedding day and your vision. And I'm happy to hear that's what went on. I hate that you weren't able to be fully a part of it,
Yeah.
but I'm glad that they embraced you and your guest to carry out what you wanted.
Yeah, I think a skill we don't talk about a lot, but just having that little aspect of problem solving.
Oh, was that what I was alluding to?
Yeah.
Problem solving.
Problem
That's the
solving
word.
for your client. The reason I hired you is because you're the professional. You have the experience. I do not.
You
Please.
mean you don't need to be back there putting some records on? Oh, wait, that shows age. No 8 tracks, no cassette. Right. No, with not even CDs anymore.
Yeah, no, yeah.
It's amazing how just that little part with DJs has, my goodness,
Yeah.
in the years. But anyway, you're right. You hired them for their expertise to handle that part of it.
Yes. Giving that problem solving to your clients, even if there's not problems along the way, just started saying, okay, we already took care of this and this. I didn't think I would be so stressed out. I made the joke that I've done presentations in front of crowds way bigger than the population I had at my wedding. Like, this should not be a scary event where I read my vows to the person I love, like in front of people who've known me most of my life. Like, this is not scary to me. Presenting in front of strangers who are judging me 100%, yes, I get a lot more stage fright for that. So I was like, I don't want this fear. I don't want to have it. Knowing you're already going to have it, you already have that stress. The vendor's coming with problem solving and just over communication on the day of was exactly what I needed. So a quick example would be my photographer and videography team. When it was starting, after I was...
Oh, because there was big adjustments, I'm sure, there.
Yeah, so the photographer and videographer, that whole company, they knew I was going downhill. They were actively setting where, okay, he's doing his first look over here with his pictures. I'm going to stay inside in the cool to try to find some ways to work without getting us in the heat.
As long as you can.
As much as we could, they really worked with it. So one thing they always did when they would walk in and see me, and unfortunately the times they would walk in is I'm head in the bucket and they're like, hey, pretty lady. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to take some pictures of people dancing outside. We're going to get some good family shots, some friend shots, all the things you talked about you wanted to show who's here and get good pictures of the people who loved to came and support you. And I'm like, thank you so much. It brought me back to life. I was like, thank you. Because
it's a peace of mind. Even though you were in that instance, you knew you was still getting taken care of.
yes, and every vendor knows the bride's going to worry about the bride, the groom's they're going to worry about themselves, and quite opposite happens where maybe the bride and groom overdrink throughout the night and things do go downhill, but usually that's a lot later when lights go down and vendors are trying to wrap up, so it's not a concern. Mine was before any festivities even started. So giving that over communication of, hey, since we can't do this right now, I'm going to pivot and do this instead so we can still stay somewhat on time. We're still going to achieve everything you wanted to. It just might be a little bit shorter. And just that calmness and over communication was, okay, things aren't going my way. That's okay. I'm still going to have my first look with him. I'm still going to be able to see him. And we did a surprise look. One of his best friends put on my grandmother's wedding dress and actually did the first look with him because I could see from the window how nervous he was. And he's more of an introvert, loud talking extrovert. So I was like, you know what? I pre-planned that. And they were able to hide me in a room with air conditioning so I could stay okay. And I got to watch that moment and watch him relieve all of his stress too. So by the time I got out there, it was a lot fun. And after we had done our first look, then I admitted to him. Yeah, it took the edge off of him. And then I admitted to him, I said, I'm glad you're feeling better. Just so you know, if I say something to you or I need to run, like I haven't been doing well. And he was like, oh my God, I didn't know this. And just really made sure that I was doing well. But even the photographer knew this the entire time, asked, do we need to stop? Do you need water? Really just
But also didn't run to him and say, oh my gosh, your fiance is so sick.
Yes, not to freak out the other half of the party. Yeah. Everybody knew except the groom's side, luckily. And they were all able to keep it very professional, I'll stop saying this word because we could take a shot for every time I say it and we'd be drunk by this point. But the communication of what's going on. So therefore, since I couldn't physically see it, couldn't be there for all of it, to know, okay, you're still doing my mom and my dad's pictures. Okay, good. Our parents are still doing that side of it. We're still getting the things we want. Okay, cool. Thank you for running this versus me having to be like, okay, do we do this? Do we do this? Do we do this? Like, just that sense of calm allowed me to say, okay, all I need to focus on right now is drinking some water, eating some crackers, breathing, trying to calm down, just enough to get out there because unfortunately we didn't get to do our first dance until a few people had left, unfortunately. So it was already about 8 o'clock, 8:30 time frame when we got back out there to do that side of it.
You just had to do the best that you could, but to still do anything you could to be present when you could.
Yes, and the last compliment I'll give is even just the photographer and videographer team went above and beyond. I could tell they were getting ready to say, hey, like we're hitting our time frame for the day. And I was finally starting to feel better. I was like, hey, if you're willing to, I want to do our first dance. I would really love to record this. We worked on it. It's important to us. I'd love to see our family's reactions to it. And this is the first thing we're doing other than him holding my hair back. I'd like to get this on film. And they were like, hell yes, girl. She's alive. Set everything up, did it, stayed to make sure. We got a few pictures because we had the neon sign. I said, we didn't get a picture in front of this yet. Can we get a picture? They're like, oh my God, girl. So all the things you need.
Accommodating.
Yes.
Yep.
So when I was finally able to pull through, them also changing their schedule to expedite to finish it. Because the thing is, as we talked about before this podcast started, photography and videography takes a long time to get back. There's a lot of post-production work that goes into it. I hope when he sends me everything, he does send me his review link, because I would love to review just the day of how amazing it was. He did record a video testimonial because he's a smart business owner. He already had a video camera there to know to, hey, ask us questions and do it. I don't know if we presented as well on video at that point because we were exhausted. I was sick. I had no food in my system. Anything he would ask me now, I'm obviously in full health, I would love to continue to rave about how above and beyond they went and also how good they made me feel. Because I'm a little bit of a tomboy at heart, even though I was dressed up very fancy, and them just still talking to me like I'm one of the dudes, I'm here, you good girl, all right, let's do this. Just not, okay, princess, are you sure you want to walk outside? That wouldn't have done well with me. That would have made me feel a bit more babied and made me more worried that I was sick potentially.
Mm-hmm. Their attitude.
It was very friendly.
You could tell they were there for you, but they were still doing their job.
Yes. Yes. And I think that's all part. If you ask enough questions, get to know your bride or groom, they knew to talk to me like that. I joke, I cuss a shit ton. My dad is a sailor when it comes to cuss words. So even the sales process, I'm like, oh, sorry, that's just me. And I'll be honest, if a cuss word drops in our video, I'm not going to scream as long as it's probably the F-bomb. My parents don't want to hear that. I was like, but that's me. That's who I am. And so them talking me back on that was okay, you're not making me feel anything else other than just comfortable. I'm in my skin. Yes. I'm doing okay. Girl, you got this. Do this.
They
Take
didn't
your time.
treat you differently, so to speak, because it was your wedding day.
Absolutely.
And because you were so sick. They still talk to you like the person you are as Brittany.
Absolutely. And I think that's what helped me mentally get through it as well. Vendors really picking up and knowing that aspect of it, I think was amazing.
The communication. I know it feels like we've harped on that, but there should be a big takeaway from that, how incredibly important it is from before the sales process begins, before you ever know someone's looking you up, all the way to after the event. I still sit here and gosh, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that on your wedding day. But on the other hand, I'm so thankful that you had such a team that executed what you wanted. And I'm so glad you were able to do the small parts of it that you were. Yeah. Because I know you worked on this event. And I say worked on, it was work.
Yeah.
For over a year. Mm-hmm. But you can only control so many things.
Yeah.
We can't control the weather as much as everyone wants to.
I know, and that was the thing I was worried about the most. And it was beautiful.
And you cannot control getting sick. Honestly, it stinks that it lasted the entire day, but you made it through it.
And I think in hindsight, I'm so glad that we had those 3 episodes to really hone in on the things that were making me angry during the sales process of it, because all I can look back now is say, I'm so glad I did that due diligence. I'm so glad I jumped through the hoops to actually go through the interviews, talk to people, hey, what's your style like? How do you do this process? Where are you going to be on the wedding day? Because I want to share this day with you, obviously. How is this going to work out? And doing all of that to have it work out the way it did, that's why things turned out, yes, it was Murphy's Law trying to attack me it was the last thing it could get on me. Everything else was perfect.
Sure.
And I had a positive attitude going into everything. And unfortunately, the only thing not positive, was how my health was on that day. But I mean, if you think about it, if I had not done that and just, maybe went okay to everybody that gave it to me because it was a lot of work and I didn't want to do it, I might not have had the best experience. So that's where I'm glad I did it. But please go back to those episodes and do all the things we bitched about you need to do, because you might be an amazing vendor and you would have been the person I needed you for that day. But if you didn't have any information about yourself, any resources on how you provided work in the past, any client examples, client testimonials, any of those things for me to go off of, it made it harder. I'm glad I did it. So if you know that brides are only so more thankful that they had the right vendors on the day of, then make sure you have the information to show them you are the right vendor to get that business in the first place. Because I'm sure I could have picked some other people and they would have done just as fabulous of a job. There's a million amazing vendors out there. It's not just the 5 I picked that day. There's a million amazing businesses. But those amazing businesses did not do a good job marketing themselves or maybe set up the sales process to get to be that person I ended up picking.
At the time, they did not make themselves appear or show up in a way to be considered.
Yeah. Very simple things that.
And some of which you never had a conversation with. It was based on what was online, on their website, on their social media. We covered all of that in the previous episodes, but I think a lot of times people go off all I got to do is set up a meeting and get them face to face. What if they don't take the step to do that?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, things evolve. A lot of engaged couples are not this face to face type person.
Mm-hmm.
That should be okay. That they don't want to initially start here. They want to do their research online, look at what's there, and then take the next step.
Absolutely. And I feel that's part of the sales process. And I'm sure most wedding vendors do not like. I don't like it either completely. When I know people are shopping right now to get pricing and get proposals together, it's not fun to be on the receiving side of it. As we said, we're both marketers. We know that when you get a proposal from us, you've already got it from one person, if not two at least. We're used to it. It's not fun, but it's part of sales, is you have to obviously make yourself shine.
Put your best foot forward each time.
Outshine your competitors and go through that side of it. So knowing that they're not always doing that side of it, it makes it 10 times harder. Like, while I was doing that window shopping, there were some people pressing, well, let's just have the video call. So how my process went, and maybe this helps shed some light on what our brides and grooms are doing, is yes, I reached out to maybe 3 to 5 a piece for each vendor category, because prices, huge ranges, and also huge range of how far out they're booked. So I could reach out to 5 and only 3 reach out to me, and 2 of those say they're already booked. So I really only have 1 person out of 5 who is able to work with me. So knowing that I was going through that to get an Excel spreadsheet together, hey, what do prices look like from people I like? When I put that into Excel spreadsheet, am I hitting my budget? Oh, okay, this category is way over. I need to go back to the drawing board for it. I knew people don't like getting that, but what I was trying to do was get enough information, get enough proposals for each. And then once I had 2 DJs, 2 photographers, 2 vendors for meals and alcohol, I would then do the video call with those people I liked enough. So that's where most people might not want to jump into that just yet. They might be doing this backward research, which is why it's even more crucial. If, okay, here's my proposal, follow up.
Wait, that other F word. Wait, follow up?
Follow up. I know I wanted to say the other F word with it, but just the follow up side of it. So I know it might be frustrating, but that's what we have to do. We have a meeting, here's the proposal. I put on my calendar, hey, do you mind if I reach back out to you in 7 days? Nope, sounds great. Well, I just got your permission to, again, reach back out to you. Hey, what do you think about proposal?
And that's on your calendar, right?
And it's on my calendar. I added it. I could almost automate it if I want to, but I do very much personalize those emails. But I have an automated reminder that says, hey, email ABC Company about your proposal.
Yes.
So even though you don't enjoy them maybe doing that, you do want to eventually get them to that video call. You can still get them to that video call, but you need to actually have that follow-up process with them versus really just being that stringent only, we have this video call and then I give you a proposal, or nothing.
Right.
So I did see there is the gambit of sales processes that vendors want to have, and you have all right to make it what you want. But again, I think what we talked about those last episodes was take a step back out, pretend that you are in your 20s or 30s and you're getting married and you're looking out at this. How you make your clients walk through that process. Would you actually want to go through that process yourself?
And that's why I've leaned my head down like I have if you're watching this on video, because I feel like I harp on this a lot with wedding professionals. And I really believe that a lot of them work out of their email inbox. And I'm going to admit, been there, I get it. But when you're dealing with multiple projects, multiple events, but also inquiries coming in on future ones, so you could be juggling a 2-year time frame here. A lot of times that is the case for wedding professionals. You are doing a disservice to yourself by not having some kind of system, an all-in-one system that helps you with tracking the leads. When did they inquire? When did you last follow up? And that's not even having the step of automation. It's there to help you.
Yeah.
But being able to glance and know, I haven't heard from these people in 2 weeks. Maybe I should follow up. Did they get my email? It's there in front of your face. And when you work out of your email inbox, it's not there. And there's apps, there's Boomerang. I'm a big fan of Boomerang, where you can click and add that email follow up to your calendar. There's a lot of software and tools there. But if you don't use them, if you don't implement it correctly and you don't use it on a regular basis, it can't do what it sets out to do. It's just something that you've purchased, you got it, but you don't use it. And honestly, when I have conversations with people and they're like, I didn't think anything about working out of my email inbox. I'm here to tell you, emails get lost in the shuffle. The sense of time, even for me, I think 2 days have gone by and 7 days have went by.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is you're really doing a disservice to not only yourself, your business, your potential clients, and your existing clients, because you're making it harder on yourself to juggle. And that's what it is. It's a juggling act when you're doing projects, especially across a big time frame.
Yes. Yeah. And again, you want to cater to the client in the end.
And to the leads, because they need to really be showcased. Oh, this is how you communicate. Oh, you do send follow-ups.
Oh my God, you mean I could get a perspective about you before I actually choose to work with you and know who you are?
We could talk an hour, honestly, on follow-ups. And that is something to me that people don't realize the importance of that a person feels, oh, they do care. Oh, I'm not just a number. Oh, wow, my date is in this email.
Yes.
There's so many ways to personalize that. It could still be automated, but the meaning of that follow-up, although you can think, oh gosh, it takes so much time away from me, or how am I supposed to follow up with 10 people? There are systems, processes, automations to make that so much easier. And I know we're harping on this, but it really is that important.
Well, because there's no excuses now. There are, as we said, there's programs to do this for you. And even if you put it into an Excel sheet and tracked it yourself, like you would actually probably have better numbers than if you don't do that. But again, put this into a system to kind of do it. I'd like to summarize and end cap this with 2 examples real quick. So the DJ category. I think I talked a lot about that. I think I emailed like over 20 DJs.
Yes.
I only heard back from maybe half of them. Half of those that responded back were already booked. And so I was only able to talk to 2-3 guys when I actually interviewed. So like of 20 emails, I got down to 10%, 15% conversion on actually talking to someone in a meeting. So what the example I want to give is one of the people who I think did the best job at communicating during the sales process, and one who I think did the worst job. So best job, let's start with the really good. So I met them at a wedding show. They got all my information. They actually contacted me almost every 30 days, whether that was via text, via phone call. And if they did was a phone call, it was a personalized message saying, hey, Brittany, just following up on your wedding for June 3rd. Wanted to see if you picked a DJ yet. Call me back as soon as you get this. If you have any questions and you want to talk about it. And I actually talked to them a few times. I didn't get the feeling I wanted from them for some reason, but they did an amazing job following up. If I had not found someone, they would have gotten the business just because they followed up. That's what I'm trying to say. I was not sold 100%. But they did such a good job. I was like, you know what?
It made an impression.
It made an impression. I was like, if they're doing this good a job following up now, hopefully that would mean the day of, they would do just a good job of. As I said, ended up knocking the business. Actually, a family friend had a friend who owned a DJ business, and I was able to watch their work, and it was exactly the work I'd wanted. The party vibe was what I was going for.
Interesting. You watched their work.
Yeah. And they didn't have much of it. So again, you need to collect an ad, and the DJ I ended up using did a good job afterwards saying, hey, if any of the video footage you get afterwards or photos includes me at all, would you please send them my way? And I said, oh, hell yeah. Why not? I'm a marketer. I get what you're trying to do with it. Kudos for you for asking me to do that. So thank you.
But it was so important in your decision that why not help people in the future?
Yes. It's what I looked for. So yes, I want to provide him back because he did an amazing job for my wedding. The opposite end of things, a DJ I did not pick. They were actually the one that had a video call with me in the beginning, which I appreciated, but they were the ones who I had the line dance conversation with, did not fully listen, and then, you heard at the beginning of the episode how that went. I got one follow-up from them right the day after that call, saying, hey, any questions? And I basically wrote back, I'm interviewing DJs right now. I'll let you know if we choose you, basically. And heard nothing until 10 or 5 days before the wedding. I get an email from the said DJ saying, hey, I need to get your data. You need to fill out a spreadsheet for all the songs you want for your wedding. And I was like, bruh, we haven't talked in 6 months. I've not signed any contract with you. What the fuck? Why would you think I'm using you? I wrote a nice email back saying, thank you, but we actually chose to go with another DJ. Thanks for reaching out. Like, I just was nice about it and left it out. But
did you get anything back?
No response from that. And I was like, okay, so if this is a sales strategy anyone's using listening to this, please don't do this. Like,
assuming that you're moving forward without a contract?
Yes, assuming you are the fit without any communication in the meantime of it. It's very odd. And that's where, again, had they done better communication, and in the meantime, they might have been someone I would chose too. I liked them better than the one that did good follow-up, even though they didn't listen to me fully. After they realized their boo-boo, they did say, I'm so sorry, you did mention you don't like those. We'll figure out a different game plan for you then. I was like, okay. I don't need you to tell me the game plan would be this very second, but I need you to know as an expert in your field, make a strategy for me. I'm a bride. I'm not going to go up there and DJ unless you're going to teach me in the next 30 days to do this. So it's your role.
You don't want to take on something else.
I can't. I'm in the bathroom throwing up, or I'm at the trash can with my husband throwing up. So I need you to teach it.
Right.
So yeah, just those two very end perspectives on it. I know neither of them got the business, but I want you to more focus on the guy that did good follow-up would have gone the business had I not found the family friend who I was able to see a video of and really.
Even though you didn't feel like it was 100% fit because of these other things that were important to you about the follow-ups, checking in, that would have solidified it for you. Such an interesting perspective. And I'm glad you gave both examples. Even though you didn't go with them, both left an impression, not a good one, and a really good one. And I would think in the future, if someone come to you, that's probably going to stand out in your mind if there was somebody looking for a DJ, whether it be for a wedding, a corporate event, or anything, that we're right back into relationship marketing because maybe you didn't get that event, but because you did such a good job in follow-up, you might not have been a good fit for what you were doing, but could be referred in the future.
Absolutely. They had the DJ that did a good follow-up. One day I actually did answer the phone call because I knew it was their number. Because again, they called me every month. I memorized at that point.
Yes.
I don't like sales calls all the time. So one time I didn't answer because it was after work. They called at 5:30. Good thinking. I'm off work. I was in my backyard. I was like watching my dogs play, answered it. And I had a little bit of a stressful day. And so I was like, you know what? Let me just ask you all the questions again now. Because at that point I was like, maybe I'm just going to choose you. And so given you are doing all the right things, you're making me feel good. Yes, when I watched their work, I didn't like the way they did it. But everything given, let's just put it the other way. If you had a bride who liked the way you do things, they would have got the business from the first two calls probably. They liked your work. You did good follow-up. Bing, bang, boom, you got it. They continued down the path to do it. But I was honest with them. I still had not selected my DJ. So they knew in their head, we still have an opportunity. There's still a chance.
There's still a chance.
Yes. And so just doing that aspect of it, we're in sales as well. So we know we have to continue that follow up. And even if we don't get the business with my industry and yours as well, we can say, can I follow up with you later? Given in weddings, most likely if you don't get the business, that wedding's going to happen in a time frame. You're not going to get it afterwards. If any of them, honestly, just food for thought, if any of them who didn't get the business when I emailed back saying, so sorry, we chose to go with someone else, I would have loved, and this is just me as a marketer, what if they emailed back saying, thank you so much for the update. Do you mind if I ask why we weren't a good fit for you, or what made us lose your business? Any of those phrases to say, what could we have done better to have earned you?
You would have given feedback, I bet.
Absolutely would have given all of them feedback. If any of them would ask point blank, I would have given them honest feedback. Hey, to be honest, man, you didn't listen to me at all when I said I don't like line dances. And if you're not going to listen to me on the very first phone call introduction, I'm just worried you won't listen to me on the day of because you're going to be more worried about how you show off to yourself versus how I want you to run my day.
So 2 F words there, follow-up and feedback. There's nothing wrong with asking for feedback. And I would encourage you to do it in a nice way. Thank you very much for letting us know. We appreciate the time that we've gotten to talk with you. Wish you nothing but the best. If you would like to give us any feedback, we'd love to hear so we can use it in the future.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be a big, long, drawn-out thing.
No, and I use this for my marketing, and I get answers that are everywhere, and sometimes I don't get an answer back at all. That's just how the process is going to work. But I can't make changes off things I'm not getting the answers for. So it's only in your best interest to do that. And that if that follows through after the event, and that's where it all comes together, where that's the other half of, not that my complaints come in, but something I'm just going to go ahead and throw out there to switch subjects a little bit. Only my day of coordinator is the only person to have asked me for a review following my wedding.
In 8 weeks, other than the photographer did a little video at the day they asked, you did a video testimonial.
Yes, I did do a day of.
Right, but under the circumstances, like you had said, you would much rather do a written or something for them down the road.
Yeah, just in case
and
I
then
look like
the
shit.
only other one has been the day of coordinator?
Yeah, and she sent it, so given, if you know your clients, you know what they're doing. If any of them had asked me, my DOC knew, we're not flying out immediately after the wedding for the honeymoon. Like his family's here out of country. We're going to stay here, hang out with them. We're doing the honeymoon 3 months down the road in September. So I'm not going anywhere. And we're just pack all
Right.
the stuff in my car. It's just going to be parked in the garage and we'll move it out as needed. So she knew she could follow up Sunday, Monday. I think she did it like Monday. So she gave me like Sunday to decompress.
What an opportunity, though, to check in. Hey, I know you were so sick on your wedding day. And I'm not saying she did this, but for other vendors, I know you were so sick. I hope you are feeling better. We loved being a part of your day.
Yeah.
Your guests were amazing. If you're not feeling up to it, understand. But when you do, here's a link to write a review. There was a perfect segue. And it sucks that it was on a bad situation, so to speak, or not the best situation. But there was a perfect follow-up opportunity and to also say, hey, when you are feeling better, here's the link.
Absolutely. So for example, the bartending company knew I was sick. Someone had said something to them because I think they were asking like, hey, we've made special drinks for the bride and the groom. And I think it was the DOC or someone just said, oh, she's not doing well. And so they actually packed up packages of drinks for us and put them in the fridge. So when they were cleaning up and I was finally back out there with my husband, they were like, hey, please don't leave before you check the fridge. We put some to-go drinks for you so you did not have anything. And I was like, oh my God, how nice of you all. That's so sweet.
It was a small touch that made a big difference.
Touch.
You couldn't drink it, of course.
Drink it, yeah. The only thing I ate that day was the piece of cake that my husband fed me. So it was a very humbling day. The only thing I needed sustenance for was the food he was giving me, and actually his mom made a very traditional Hungarian cake, so it was absolutely delicious, but straight sugar on an empty stomach was not so bueno. But the thing I wish I would have seen after that, and some vendors might have this, it was a different team that was there serving that day than who I had talked to planning it out. Absolutely fine. As long as that team there knows what the plan is, great. Now, did that team correlate to the owner? Hey, the bride was sick. We left some drinks prepackaged for them to take home. Even just the owner asking, how did the event go? Getting a 5-minute subject of what happened to say, okay, now they can follow up with the review. They might not have been there to know, but they could say, hey, Brittany, Tom told us how sick you were. I hope you had a chance to enjoy the drinks we made for you. So sorry you didn't get to enjoy them. We hope your friends and family did. If you get a chance, leave us a review on how we performed that day. We'd greatly appreciate it when you're feeling better. Hands over fist, I've given. Please listen to this. I will still give a review. You still did business for me. I'm still willing to do it. I know some people are told wait months down the road until after they're back on their honeymoon. Ask the client what they're doing. Some are going immediately afterwards. Some
Just
are
in
not going.
conversation. It doesn't have to be on a questionnaire.
Oh, yeah, no.
Are you all taking a honeymoon? And don't assume that people are. Some people aren't doing honeymoons now. Are you all going out of town together? Are you doing a honeymoon? Or, oh, when are you doing that? Mental notes. And I think so many times when people hear the word follow-up, it's automatically assumed for a lead, automatically assumed for a client. A follow-up can also be after the event. Feedback can be if you didn't get the business, if you did get the business.
Yep.
And what you're saying right here, right now, people are missing the opportunity to get feedback and reviews that can do nothing but help their business.
And what's your opinion on this? As far as wedding vendors, what's the time frame they should ask for that review? Knowing some brides and grooms do immediately leave for a week afterwards and don't want to be thinking about their wedding.
If someone has asked my opinion, I have said 2 or 3 days later, I could see sending, it was so great to be part of your event. Hope you have a great honeymoon. If you know they're going on their honeymoon. And I normally say like that 10-day range, that 7 to 10-day range, if you're requesting a review or testimonial. If you know that they're not going somewhere or they're not going somewhere for a while, I would then change to say 2 to 3 days, do your follow-up, thanking them for having you be part of their special day because you really were part of a major event for that couple and families. And then to say, this is the next step. And it depends on who they are because if it's a photographer, videographer, you're going to be hearing whatever their timeline is, you're going to be hearing from them. So it really depends on, are they done, so to speak, a bartending service, a DJ, a bakery for the cake or catering? That would be my take is I think the next day soon. In your situation, if I was consulting those vendors, I would have said 24 hours would have been more than plenty given the circumstances to follow up. Like truly, thank you for letting us work with you. How are you? I hope you're feeling better.
Yeah.
So I think you have to look at who you are in the business as far as what category you are. How do you work with the couple? And then the time frame after, are they traveling? Are they not? nowadays it seems like a lot of people aren't leaving the next morning. It is a couple days before they fly out, and or some people aren't doing honeymoons. So I think listening to know and then getting that in your notes when it's best for that follow-up. But the key is, even if it's 15 days later, or you make a decision as a company, we're going to wait 30 days, follow up. Follow up, ask for a review, and ask for feedback.
Yeah, and that's why I think I wanted to mention, not every person I was talking to in the sales process was actually the person there the day performing the task. So if that's the business you fall in, where you have people who, you're a food vendor, but you have people who work for you to bring the food out, prepare the food, and you're not physically there, you're more of the in-house. Ask those guys, how did it go? And then that's what your follow-up needs to reflect. And the fact that the food caterer came up to us and was like, thanks for having us here. Hope you enjoyed the food. And my husband was like, it was delicious. And I was like, thank you. I was like, I've only received compliments. So thank you for doing such a good job with the food. I wish I could have enjoyed it, but I made everybody else happy with choosing you, so this is a win for us still. Why the heck haven't they asked me for a review? And especially like when the team there can relay that back to the office, or even if you are the team on the day of, if they're happy with you or not. You could probably read most brides' faces if they're like, yeah, you did great.
But you're also excited to give the reviews.
Yeah.
I can even see you, without being prompted, going and doing some of these reviews. But I hear from you saying, hey, send me, where do you want this? Where could it best help you? Where would you like me to put this? That's what I hear you saying. Not that you won't go and do one on your own, but you're really waiting for that company to say, thank you for letting us be a part of your day. Here's what I would like. Here's where I'd like the review to go, or here's a link.
Yeah, and that's the whole part of it. So my DOC gave me the links to Wedding Wire and The Knot. So that was the two places she wanted her review. And I said, okay. And I said, do you mind if I copy and paste if it's going to be the same on both? She said, absolutely fine. But direct links, I could click from the text message, and then I copy and I did the whole review in 5 minutes. From the message I got saying, yeah, no problem. I was sitting down, I was at a good point. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna knock this out, because she did do an amazing job. I only owe it back to her for thanking her to take care of me and take care of everything as much as she did. So yeah, like simplest place possible. So yes, I mean, she did say, hope you're feeling better when you get a chance. Could you leave me reviews if you liked how I performed? And I was like, yeah, no problem, girl. So I mean, yes, any type of business though, I still feel that, so my photographer and videographer, as I said, I've not gone back every single thing. I've gone on the photos. He still could send me a link, and I would still probably be willing to send it. Usually most people want to give the review after all the work's done. And yes, I'm that same person of, I'd like to see it all done in my hands and then rave about you, because I can show the rave. I don't want to like, yeah, they're great, they were good. Then it's made up versus, no, they did this, 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 and this. These are the reasons you should book them. They still could send it to me right now, and I'd probably be like, yeah, I got 1,400 photos. 1,400 amazing photos.
Wow.
It's a lot. And I uploaded like 400 to Facebook so I could share with my friends and family who didn't get to see it yet. Ask your person, because as a wedding vendor, I'm sure you're doing the best you can at doing the best job for them, make their day as special for them as possible. So if you're not doing the back end of your own marketing to help get more brides and grooms in that position, you're really doing yourself a disservice. And I know
You've done all of this hard work. There's a lot that gets poured into these events by vendors. You want the links. You want to write the reviews. Don't hesitate on asking for them. Don't hesitate. And is every person going to do it? Probably not. Don't take offense to that. And there's nothing wrong with a follow-up. Maybe that's 30 days later. Maybe it just wasn't the right timing for them. But do your business and yourself a favor and finish off that event by a thank you email or whatever you want to say. Some people still do handwritten cards, and I'm not knocking that whatsoever. Whatever your system is to actually offboard a client, make sure you ask for the reviews. I think that is so important, and it can help you going forward. So I know we could talk for days, and I feel like this isn't the end of Brittany coming on here, because I would love to get a few more months down the road. Did she get those links? She'll have her pictures and video and have more time to be settled in, even though it's been 8 weeks. It's only been 8 weeks. But all of the insights and just having this conversation, I think, can help open vendors' eyes to hear it straight. It's not coming from me. It's coming straight from the horse's mouth. You've been through this, and you're given feedback not only as a bride at the time, but as a person that wears marketing shoes, that you totally get it. Even though you don't work with wedding professionals, you totally understand the online presence and the marketing world. And at the forefront of that from all of these times that we've been together is communication that each and every person can do. And the stuff that we've talked about is doable items. It's not something that's far-fetched, that you have to have all this money to invest in. All of the items we talked about can be addressed and can be done in your business.
And they can be done passively as well. You can set this up where you're not even having to lift a finger afterwards.
Yeah, and it's not all to add so many other things to your plate, but just start somewhere, just get started. So thank you so much for sharing all of this. And this is the perfect recap to go through the other time we sat down. We ended up breaking that out into 3 parts, but to come back and be able to come full circle, so to speak, I think it's been great.
Yes, and now I'm married.
I know, now she's married. All right, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Christina.
There you have it. If you are not already part of the free Facebook group, I encourage you to join WedPro Business Community. And until next time, keep working on your businesses.